top with 126 total. The next closest was China with 91. Those two countries tied with the number of gold medals at 40 each. Okay, I think we got cut off there. What you heard with the cheering is what you're seeing now. Fans and supporters gathered at the airport in St. Paul to welcome home Olympic gymnast Suni Lee. About 70 people greeted the gymnast at the airport, including Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, Senator Amy Klobuchar, and St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter. Lee, who was born and raised in St. Paul, won gold with her team in the artistic gymnastics competition, along with bronze medals in individual uneven bars and all-around events.